Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. And ever since we've known that OpTic Pred is a likely possibility for that roster next season, the questions have been raised. Is he the best duo with Shotzzy? Will they work well? Is that going to be an effective duo despite all the talent they have? Would Envoy have been a better pickup? Should they have stuck with Huke after all? Were there other options on the table they could have gone for? Scump and Methods give their thoughts on this and they say, look, Pred is so good at slaying and other aspects that this should work very well, hands down. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Let's dive straight in. Firstly with Clayster. Did want to say on Clay because if you're looking at many of the ARs out there right now, Slasher I'm sure is got to be one of the top of the list. We know the top 4 teams. Outside of that you've got Boston, you've got Surge, you've got Minnesota Rokkr, you've got Thieves of course. Those are the teams I imagine that will be trying to mix it up for the decent spots in next season. And maybe some other teams have some things up their sleeve as well. And maybe Clay goes back to Vegas, right? I think it's very clear that Clay does want to play again. He made this clear at the desk at Champs. I asked him briefly after Major 5. I was like, will he be back? And he's like, yeah, that's definitely the plan. So we'll see. And I think Clay should get offers. I was actually just thinking yesterday, like, Clay to Thieves could be really interesting for me because I think that Sasha and Priester are probably going to command a little bit too high of a salary that Thieves can pay. I would expect them to go to Boston or maybe to this G2 Rokkr team if that turns out to be a thing. But Clay obviously wants to play again, is very keen to do so. And yeah, Thieves Clay I think would be really interesting, right? Because he's just played on Vegas for what I don't think was quite a minimum salary, but I can't imagine was anything spectacular. The idea of Clay, you know, actually could play in a facility would be really good. So we'll see about that. But I think that Clay, from like AR leadership veteran targets, is right up there if in terms of those players. You look at maybe an Attach as well, but there's Slasher, there's Attach, there's Clay, there's Accuracy. But outside of that, Clay's got to be right at the top of the list in terms of building a team around him. And I think that's honestly one of the higher profile ways to go about this. You put Clay there, you put 3, you know, okay, probably one with a bit more experience, but a couple of young guys that need a bit of development and learning. Awakening, for example, a high ceiling player that needs some direction. Clay could be good there, right? So I think that, you know, we'll see what happens with Clay over the coming days. Hasn't been many rumours, despite the early discussions that he was having talks with Boston, and that may still come true. Another tweet here from Envoy's father I thought was pretty funny, right? So after the first time that he was released by OpTic and everything happened there, he was like, oh, look, I'm going to be in California. I promise I won't have to move again. I'm going to stay here for, you know, pretty much the rest of my career or whatever. But it turns out in Call of Duty that's not necessarily the case, and moving to Toronto seems like it's going to be the case in the near future. Now, we're going to discuss the OpTic thing, but I also had to share this from Octane because this is hilarious, and I know the clip is pretty long here, but I think it's worth just sticking it out for because Octane tells the great story, and I'm mind blown. I'd never heard of this, to be honest, and you know, we'll get into it now. So Octane's talking about during the Modern Warfare season, this is where the money was flowing like there's no tomorrow. Aches was on like 400 G's from Los Angeles Guerrillas. People were making bank. The entire Seattle team was on like 300k plus, and that was the team of Apathy, Enable, Slacked, Karma and Octane, right? That was the team of 5. JoeDeceives as the coach. They quite quickly realised we don't have enough money to spend on this, and they spent so much money on this sick intro video. Like, the money was just flowing like incredible back then. That was the season that made a lot of people rich, to be honest. When Activision had sold the CDL as this, like, it was going to be incredible, and then people figured out that actually the economics don't necessarily work out. So Octane talks about how they sent these guys to a whole facility with guys that had directed movies, spent 6 figures on this intro video that was apparently phenomenal. And here's a picture actually from Panda, who I guess attended, right, because he was on the substitute bench at the time, of JoeDeceives, their then coach, with the bomb strapped to his chest that was mentioned here. But the hilarious thing is that Octane gets into is that the CDL never said that they could do this, and therefore all the money is wasted. I really hope that at some point we actually get to see this video and somebody has it saved somewhere so it can get leaked to the public. I know that Chrome was like, if anyone has this, please send it. We want to see it. So I'll share that clip for you guys there in a second, but also wanted to share back to back with that some of the thoughts on this Pred situation. So these are what theoretically should be the top 4 teams. They probably won't be the top 4 teams every event, but at least a few of the events you would think that the Sunday is just these 4 teams, and whoever turns up is going to win. I think it's going to be a really entertaining season, right, based on the back of what we are seeing here. Difficult to say who's won Rostermania, who's the best team. I think that all of these teams you could argue have upgraded. Subliners I'm not sure. OpTic certainly think it's the case though, and this Pred Shotzzy duo has raised a lot of questions because when Envoy was initially linked to OpTic, many said that's the better combination there. Envoy and Shotzzy, they're going to work better, but I've always been of the opinion that, look, Pred is just so good and he's incredibly good at getting kills. This is the same thing with Hydra, and my opinion generally is that when you've got two players that are talented enough, they should be able to figure it out, especially the likes of Pred and Shotzzy, that on paper, you've got a good combination there of slaying and support play. So we'll get into that more in a second, but I'll share the thoughts from Scump and methods on this and effectively saying that, look, Huke didn't always have the slaying power, and Pred is going to be very consistent there.
Chat, do you guys know the story about when we filmed an intro for the league and it cost $100,000 and they couldn't use it? Okay. You guys know like the normal intros you do for the games, right? You know, this time we take everything, like one of those, right? So I go to Vancouver because that's where Seattle's like actually based. And we have to go film this intro video, and it's one of the directors from one of the seasons of The Walking Dead is doing it. So it's like a whole production, right? It's like a movie production. It's not like haha walk in and Joey Nubsy's on his iPhone like filming it. Like no, it's like a whole movie set. Everyone's there, like an entire thing. Okay, so we get there. It's like the middle of winter, so it's my balls are in my stomach, right? So it's bone-chillingly cold. It's raining. It's disgusting. The video is us. I don't have the video to watch. I don't know where it is. It's out. It's in the metaverse somewhere. We go out there. The video is us trying to defuse a bomb that is strapped to Joey Nubsy's chest. So we're like in army gear. They had an army ranger come out who works on movie sets. We have to defuse a bomb that's strapped to Joey Nubsy's chest. They get this army ranger guy out there who works with like movie sets and like trains actors and stuff to make it look authentic. So we have to like learn how to hold guns and like do everything for authenticity. That takes like 2 hours. I'm learning how to hold like an M16 authentically to make it look real, right? So we go through this entire shoot. Keep in mind, $100,000 goes into this shoot. We go through the entire thing. We film it. I have a sniper rifle. I'm in the rafters of some abandoned warehouse, right? Damon's in it. Joey's in it. Everyone's in it. We get through. We go through. We finish the video. They edit it. They send it to us. We're like, this could be awesome. And it was awesome, to be fair. It looked amazing. I had one line, by the way. I was there for 12 hours. It was a 12-hour shoot with my nuts in my chest. Freezing rain. I had one line. I was huddled around this space heater for 12 hours. So we're about to get it out. We watch like, yo, that's fucking awesome. Turned out so well. The league comes back. You can't use this because the players are holding guns. My organization did not okay the idea of the video with the CDL prior to going to film the video. So it got scrapped. This is me in my army getup. Look at me. Oh, look how hot I look. Haircut's on point, though. I was wearing that all day. 12 hours.
Wait, what is this? Octane basically confirmed what a lot of us knowledgeable OpTic fans thought our gameplay revolved around, and that's the subs pressure on the map. Do you think they would keep the playstyle with the addition of Pred?
I do think it solves a consistency problem. Like, I do think Pred is like an incredibly consistent SMG roaming kill horse slayer.
Yeah.
And I feel like having guaranteed SMG kills on the map, and Pred's not like super slow, but he isn't like Ant. Like he's like a pre-aim heavy, like.
Yeah, Ant's getting in there.
He's just a roaming slayer. And I feel like having that level of SMG consistency is going to be important. And that kid could also win games by himself. Not against methods. He's winless against methods. Like, statistical fact,
I still find that insane.
How many times have you beat him?
I think I'm 5-0.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, undefeated against
I mean,
Pred.
So I have a bit of a theory on the SMG duos in Call of Duty, and I'll just share my thoughts on this for you guys. You might think I'm completely faded here, but let's give it a go. So back in the day, let's say Black Ops 2 or something, you used to have a primary SMG and then effectively an objective player. So back in, let's say, Ghost or something, you'd have Nade Shot and you'd have TP, and they were just the objective sub. They would get on the points, they would, capture the flag, they'd get in the blitz portal, they would dive on the domination flag, and over time it became realized that you can't just have one SMG that's there to slay and one SMG that just throws their life away for the objective. There needs to be a bit more of a mix of both. And over time it became a situation where you would have a primary SMG who effectively did it all, and a support SMG. So during the OpTic dynasty, you would have Scump, who was just the absolute do-it-all sub. He was aggressive when he needed to be, he was passive when he needed to be, but he would get in a lot of engagement and get a lot of kills. That's what Scump was so good at. And Karma would fill the gaps. That was where it became. It wasn't like Karma was the objective player, because everyone did some objective work, but Karma was the support guy. He would rotate if necessary, he would fill the gaps, and he played that supportive role. And that was kind of considered the gold standard for how to do SMG duos. But then we came to Black Ops 4. Simp and aBeZy came along, and that changed the game, because Simp and aBeZy, they had this 1-2 punch. aBeZy was in first, Simp was next up, incredible gun skill, and it's just like, how do you stop that? And every team from then on was like, alright, we have to form a Simp and aBeZy. Who's our aBeZy? Who's our aggro sub? Who's our Simp, our secondary slaying sub? And that was the meta for the last couple of years, and every team has tried to form their own Simp and aBeZy, but it's really difficult to find a Simp and aBeZy that could do a better job than they can. I think the story has kind of changed again, arriving here in Vanguard when Kismet and Hydra came along. Because to me, Kismet and Hydra, that's not Simp and aBeZy, that's Scump and Karma as far as I'm concerned. Hydra is very similar, I think, to Scump in many ways. The way he plays, as I say, being aggressive, getting a lot of engagements, but also knowing when to slow down, be passive, get the first and the second kills, and then just hold on. Just being ridiculously good at slaying, that's what Hydra's like. And Kismet is kind of filling the gaps. He's not necessarily more aggressive than Hydra, but he's doing whatever it takes to support his SMG duo there. And I think that that is, again, a very viable combination that's working for the subliners, and it's different to Simp and aBeZy as far as I'm concerned. So moving this back to the OpTic situation, some would say that Shotzzy needs to become like aBeZy. They'd say, okay, Pred should be your Simp, he should be your slaying sub, and then aBeZy should be, Shotzzy should play like aBeZy, which maybe is viable, but I kind of prefer doing it the other way. Have Pred be your Scump, have Pred be your Hydra, and have Shotzzy be your Kismet or your Karma respectively, and I think Shotzzy can do a great job of that. Like, Shotzzy makes the lives for his teammates much easier. He's going to hit flanks if needed, he's going to play rotations if needed, and that's the way that I perceive this duo working. Like, I would perceive this as more of like a Hydra Kismet thing than I would a Simp and aBeZy thing, which is, and look, I think the players are talented enough to figure it out at the end of the day. If they, I mean, look, they're smart guys. People praise at Shotzzy a lot for how good he is, to be honest, like how smart he is at the game. He might not be so smart outside of the game, but Shotzzy's in-game IQ is definitely right up there, and they're going to have Karma as the coach, let's not forget. And I just said that Scump and Karma kind of set the benchmark for what you were doing a few years ago from an SMG perspective, and maybe Karma has some thoughts on that he can share with those guys. So anyway, that's kind of my theory on how this might go, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. You might think I'm faded on that one, and we got Shotzzy here carrying the boats as well. He's been putting in the work in and outside of the game, so I thought that was pretty nice to see as well. And of course, Kenny is meant to be the fourth player there, and Pred was reacting to, I think, his first time that he saw that crazy Kenny 4-piece to win the game against Echo Fox, you guys might remember from a few years ago. Just to close out here, I thought this is pretty funny for you guys. So your birth month has to beat your birthday in a COD 1v1 to save your life. So if you're born in June, then good luck, have fun. So here's me in June. So if you're June the 3rd, I got you. June the 3rd against JoeDeceives, I got you covered. Any other date might be a bit of a challenge. I was wondering like how I would approach this, right? So like, let's say I actually had to beat Shotzzy in a 1v1 to save the life of those of you that are born on June the 15th. Do I get to choose what 1v1 we're playing here? Like, can I make the call on exactly what we're doing? Because if it's on any of the recent games, I'm absolutely done for. Like, I would have to take Shotzzy back to, like, I would go Black Ops 1, because I don't think Shotzy's ever played that game. Maybe he has or something. He probably doesn't know the meta. I'll go Black Ops 1, and I would put him on some, like, random map, like WMD, that he's never heard of or even played before, and just no radar, and I'm just camping. Like, I'm just waiting around. He probably doesn't know that the FAMAS is the gun you're meant to use. I reckon I could have him. It's not a guarantee, but I reckon I could give it a good go. If I got to choose if I got to set up all the rules and everything for this 1v1, I think I could give it a good go. But, intrigued to your perspective in the comments below. I thought this is pretty funny, to be fair. And there was definitely some good matchups here that people were finding. But very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.